The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on your side.
Welcome back. A government shutdown, immigration, new tariffs. It's been a full week in Washington. We want to know what your lawmakers have to say, that is, about all of that. So this week, 9 on your side anchor Craig McKee sat down with Ohio Congressman Warren Davidson.
Before, on This Week in Cincinnati, you spoke about that kind of new blood mentality about going up there, and you were surprised by the couches and offices, and you said every office should just have a table, a conference table, and a dry eraser board. Is that the same mentality now that you've been there for a while?
Well, totally. I think collaboration needs to work differently.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Congressman Warren Davidson is a veteran and former businessman turned politician who describes himself as a constitutional conservative. He represents Ohio's 8th congressional district, and here's his take on the most recent government shutdown.
You look at why did this fail, it was mostly political. It's people looking for a political solution to a DACA problem. Democrat senators prioritized a solution for 700,000 or 800,000 people whose families brought them here illegally over funding America. And it's purely politics to say, hey, the solution they want is a political solution to make their base happy. It's not a solution to the real problem, because even like the '86 compromise that Reagan had, if that had really been a solution, we wouldn't be dealing with this problem today.
And when it comes to DACA and the so-called dreamers, the congressman defends President Trump's executive order that not only put things into motion, but put a deadline in place.
Yeah, I think people are very sympathetic to the folks that are in this plight. I mean, some of them are neighbors. People have built friends with folks that are probably here illegally. It's a topic people don't like to bring up a lot of times. And it can be offensive for people that are here legally and did all the right things. But when does that happen? It happens to people that never actually applied for citizenship. So they kind of came and became sort of part of it. That's that incoherent mix. You know, there's opportunities. They've been working here in some way. But then there's the risk that they could be deported. If you look at DACA, DACA is deferred action. It is an action, and there's no law that made it this way. There's no money that's been appropriated by Congress for DACA. This was an action taken by executive order by President Obama. And President Trump basically said, hey, I'm going to follow the law. So if you guys want me to follow the law, I'm going to give you 6 months. I'm not going to start following the law immediately. I'm going to start following it on March 5th. So he did put that deadline out there. He put Congress on a deadline. And frankly, it's popular for him to have deferred his, frankly, conformity to the law. The law says that as the executive, he's supposed to enforce our law. And so he's put this pressure on Congress to find a way to get a solution.
As for the border wall itself and billions planned to support security operations along the Mexican-United States border, Davidson admits walls can be breached, and the plan has to involve technology.
Personally, I didn't campaign on a wall. President Trump did. However, I feel that the wall has a sense of permanence that's important, because when a wall is breached, well, then you can go there and know that the wall is breached, and you could know that the state of enforcement at the border is too lax because the wall is in a state of disrepair. If you've got a functioning wall, it's coupled with a security apparatus that enforces the border. It defends the border and it enforces who can come and go through that access point. But you don't just have to have a wall to create a secure border. We can do that with a lot of technology, we can do that with terrain, but we can't do it with no presence.
So to your constituents, the amount of money that's being proposed, you're behind that 100%? Or do you think it really needs to be still evaluated?
I am, and when you look at why does it matter, let's look at Ohio, unfortunately, is near the top of the country in overdose fatalities. When we get the stats in for 2016, what we'll see is more people died of overdoses than any other accidental cause of death. We're also ranked high on human trafficking. Who controls that trade? Largely Mexican drug cartels. Over 80% of this stuff on our streets is coming across the Mexican border.
As for recent actions this week by President Trump to impose a 30% tariff on imports of solar panels and washing machines from foreign companies, he hoped for a different decision.
One, I'm a free trade guy, so I don't like tariffs. I like free trade. And what's gone on, one of the things that the president railed against was trade laws that have handicapped Americans. And if you look at our interaction in the World Trade Organization, I'm for the free trade, I'm for the context of working together to trade, But the current system is essentially like watching basketball where there's no fouls called and no free throws. Would it change the sport? Absolutely it would, and that's what's been going on with respect to many aspects of our trade environment. So while I had hoped that we would be able to respond to this in a different way without the tariffs, I'm happy that the president is doing something about it.
Craig McKee for This Week in Cincinnati.
Craig also asked Congressman Davidson if he speaks to former Speaker of the House, John Boehner, whose seat he filled after Boehner retired. He says he has bounced ideas off of him. They've texted and shared a few meals together.